Welcome to Timeless Reads, a Classics podcast. Today we're diving into a really fascinating short story by Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Bobok. Yeah,
Bobok. Yes, it's certainly one of his more unusual pieces, a very strange little tale.
it really is. And we want to sort of unpack it today, look at the story itself, what Dostoevsky might be getting at, its core ideas, that peculiar essence it has.
Definitely. It starts, as you know, framed as this diary entry from certain Ivan Ivanovich.
Right. Somebody's diary, he calls
Yeah.
it. And this Ivan, he's a literary man, but he's struggling, feels misunderstood, maybe even going a bit mad.
Yeah, he certainly contemplates it. He's quite frustrated with the literary world. His novels rejected, his articles too. He feels like taste has coarsened.
He uses that great line about the public preferring a cudgel to Voltaire now. You really feel his bitterness.
And it forces him into, less prestigious work, translations, commissioned pieces, even advertisements.
And that guide, The Art of Pleasing the Ladies. It paints such a picture, doesn't it? A man
Yeah.
scrabbling for work. Absolutely. And then there's his habit of sending unsolicited advice to editors.
40 letters in 2 years.
Mm,
Wow. It shows a kind of desperation maybe, or just a profound need to be heard,
I think so. He feels ignored, irrelevant, and then people start calling him morbid.
which he takes almost as a badge of honor in a strange way.
Hmm.
So he starts thinking about madness, what it means. He has this insight, doesn't he, about how quickly people label others mad.
He does. It's a surprisingly sharp observation that maybe calling others mad is a way to feel secure in your own sanity. It's quite perceptive, actually, amidst all his complaints.
And all the while, this sound, bup, he keeps hearing it.
Yes, that recurring sound. It's like this little drumbeat of his mental state, maybe.
Yeah.
Very mysterious.
So needing some kind of diversion, maybe just distraction, he ends up at a funeral, a distant relative.
And the cemetery scene itself is, well, it's pure Dostoevsky. Very atmospheric.
He describes multiple funerals happening, the different types of coffins, the sort of performative grief mixed with almost a weird gaiety underneath.
And the smell, right, the smell of the place. And his descriptions of the dead faces, these fixed, almost unpleasant smiles he sees, it's quite macabre.
He really takes his time there, wandering, looking at the tombs, thinking about the different grades, the water in the graves. It's like the setting prompts these deeper reflections in him.
Yeah, reflections on respect, astonishment, the human condition, really, even in this grim place.
And that detail, the unfinished sandwich just left on a tombstone.
Oh, that's brilliant. So mundane and absurd right next to the, solemnity of death. It kind of highlights the strangeness Ivan feels.
Then he does something quite odd. He lies down on a marble tombstone, one shaped like a coffin.
And that's when it starts. He begins to overhear things, faintly at first.
Voices coming from the graves.
Exactly. The first clear conversation is between a Major General Provoidov and Lebeziatnikov, a lower court counselor.
And what are they doing? Playing cards. Preference, of all things.
It's incredible, isn't it? Even after death, they're still caught up in their old habits, their social hierarchies, the general's still barking orders about the game.
And Lebeziatnikov is trying to curry favor, just like he probably did in life.
It suggests these things don't just vanish when you die, according to Dostoevsky here.
Then you get that argument breaking out between a rather haughty lady and a shopkeeper.
Still arguing about status and debts, unpaid debts, even in the grave. It's darkly funny, but also quite cynical about what matters to people.
Right. And then that other voice chimes in, just repeating, I should like a taste of life.
That's quite poignant, actually. Amidst all the bickering and score settling, that raw desire for life itself.
We also hear from Avdotia Ignatievna, adding to the general complaints and squabbles. It's like a little microcosm of society down there, but maybe the worst bits.
Definitely seems that way. Then a new arrival disrupts things, a freshly buried corpse.
Causes a bit of a stir, confusion, complaints about his sudden death.
And the general gives him this pompous welcome, which immediately leads into this rather grisly medical discussion about his demise. They're trying to impose some kind of order, perhaps.
It seems like it. But more start waking up. It gets more crowded, more chaotic.
Yeah, you have a civil counselor talking bureaucracy, an engineer just muttering nonsense.
The lady buried that morning reanimates. And Lebeziatnikov, he's thrilled. More people joining the party, so to speak.
He seems quite excited by it all. Then Privy Councilor Tatarfevich wakes up, very dismissive. But the real catalyst, I think, is Baron Klinovich.
Klinovich. He changes the whole dynamic, doesn't he? He arrives and immediately starts spilling secrets, talking about his scandalous life.
He's utterly shameless, and he immediately starts interacting with Avdotya Ignatyevna in a very suggestive way. He seems to relish this post-death freedom.
And he has this idea, this proposal.
Right, to cast aside all shame. He basically argues that life above ground is all lies and masks anyway.
So here, in this temporary state after death, they have a chance to be, well, truthful. But truthful in a base way.
Exactly, to indulge completely without worrying about consequences or appearances.
Lebesyanikov tries to explain what's happening, referencing some philosopher, Platon Nikolaevich.
Yeah, it's this slightly comical pseudo-philosophy. He suggests consciousness just lingers for a bit like inertia. Maybe 2 or 3 months, he says.
And he connects the bad smell in the cemetery not just to physical decay, but to a kind of moral stench from their souls.
Which is an interesting idea, but Kleinovich isn't interested in the philosophy, he just sees the opportunity.
Yeah, he sees this window, this short period before the final oblivion, which he calls Bobok, as a chance for pure, unadulterated pleasure and, well, depravity.
He fully embraces it, and quite a few of the others seem willing to go along with his plan.
They agreed to drop all pretenses, cast off shame. There's even talk about who else might be arriving soon. Scientists, journalists, an editor.
Suggesting this underground gathering might grow even more diverse in its potential for scandal, the whole thing starts to descend into this really base, chaotic expression of desires.
It's building to this fever pitch of shamelessness. And then
Ivan Ivanovich sneezes.
just like that, a simple human sneeze.
And boom! Silence. Everything just stops. The voices vanish. It's back to being just a quiet cemetery.
The intrusion of the living, the mundane, breaks the whole spell.
Ivan is, understandably, shaken. He can't quite believe the depravity he's just witnessed or overheard.
But he's also intrigued, isn't he? He feels this pull, this morbid curiosity to hear more, maybe even visit other cemeteries.
Yeah, he wants the full picture, he says. But he also wants to go back to those specific dead people. And he decides he needs to take his story to the citizen, an editor he knows.
And he concludes that Bobok, that word, must signify this final eruption of rottenness, this depravity in the last moments of consciousness.
It's a powerful, disturbing image, this final flicker of awareness used for that.
So when you boil it down, Bobok really feels like Dostoevsky pushing boundaries. He's exploring what lies beneath the surface when all the social rules, all the morality we construct were stripped away.
Absolutely. It's satire, it's grotesque, it's darkly funny, but it's asking serious questions about human nature, isn't it? About our base desires, the masks we wear.
Yeah, are we inherently noble? Or is this sort of Kleinovich-style indulgence closer to our core, just held in check by society? It's unsettling.
Deeply unsettling. He uses this completely bizarre, fantastical scenario, talking corpses, to really probe at something fundamentally human, or perhaps inhuman. It certainly leaves you thinking.
It really does. A strained, unforgettable story. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Dostoevsky's Bobok here on Timeless Reads a Classics podcast.
A pleasure. As always, it's a story that definitely sparks conversation.
We certainly hope this exploration has given you some food for thought about this peculiar and powerful short story. If you enjoyed our discussion, please do like, subscribe, and maybe leave a comment sharing your own thoughts on Dostoevsky's unsettling tale. We'd love to hear them.